Hello and welcome to the Snap UK podcast, your weekly review of all things NFL by those in the know on this side of the pond. My name is Johnny Thrash, and this week on the pod we are encamped at 4th and Inch's house. With me on today's show, Jimmy G, Griff, and man of the house himself. Championship weekend has been and gone, and in its wake, a trail of tears for some, a jamboree of jubilation for others. So let's get into it. Diving into the earlier of the two matchups, the AFC Championship, which pitted Andy Reid's Chiefs against Mike Vrabel's Titans with a trip to Miami at stake. So it ended Titans 24, Chiefs 35. Who wants to go first?
Actually, before we start, I just want to congratulate Johnny Thrash for reading that word for word, probably for the first time this season.
And getting through the phrase, jamboree of jubilation.
Thank you.
The trail of tears when you're talking about the Chiefs, that's insensitive, surely.
It may or may not have been put in there deliberately. Moving on. They did all right.
So that was the idea of the trail of tears, yeah.
Well, nobody is suggesting that Kansas City is being sent to live on some sort of restricted zone.
We should move on.
We really have to. You didn't need to bring that up. Right. So, we quickly...
the man who wrote it.
But it was like to sneak it in. You didn't have to highlight it. John had just run through that perfectly well, and rightly is congratulated. Right. So, these teams coming in, we'd got the tale of the Tannehill ascendancy. Taking over from Mariota in week 5, week 6, week 5, I think.
Yeah, it was week 5, so they were 2-2 when he took over.
Okay.
And then only losing once, I think, after he came in, maybe twice. They were superb once Tannehill came in.
Yep.
And by having a quarterback who could play, they freed up Derrick Henry to rush for a million yards.
Yeah.
785 yards in the last 3 games.
Yep.
Something like that.
Let's not worry about the last game he's played, though.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. And on the other side of this particular bill, Patrick Mahomes fully fit at last after a restricted last 4 or 5 games where he wasn't running around. There wasn't much mention of my boy Matt Moore, who we're getting to is going to be in the Super Bowl. Just saying.
Oh, God.
Did help Kansas City get to this position.
Yes, he did.
Looking forward to that.
He had a couple of games.
He did. And I now have something in the Super Bowl. Excellent stuff. So, with that very brief recap over, where do we start with this one?
So we've got to start.
Yeah.
Where, once again, the Chiefs were slow.
Slow is a way of putting it. They were 10-0 and 17-7 down in this game.
I think they respected the Titans enough not to give them 24 points straight off the bounce. So they decided to only give them 10 points this time, and then they set to work. And I thought after they got over that initial hump, they were pretty much imperious. I mean, 35-24. That's a scoreline that probably sounds closer than it should be.
Yeah, it wasn't that close once the Chiefs got going. It was the Patrick Mahomes show, and rightly so. For the first time in I would say 6 weeks, he looked at full pace. And when he put the Chiefs up just before halftime, we were discussing before we started with the dancing touchdown where he ran round 4 defenders, I think.
Through 2, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically didn't get tackled. And that killed it for the Titans because they have prided themselves on absolutely following Vrabel's example and just nailing people, especially in the secondary. And he just danced through them like they weren't there.
They were too busy trying to punch it out, weren't they? But they should have just been tackling. They should, instead of...
Yeah, to get the fundamentals done first. I think some of that is down to the fact that they don't do as much tackling in practice as they once did, just because they're restricted in terms of, A, well, they don't want to kill each other, and B, they don't have as much time to practice anyway. But, yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier. If the Chiefs go on to win the Super Bowl in America's game in the following year, this is going to be the moment that they'll talk about, probably for about 5 minutes on that program, and Patrick Mahomes will be hailed as the next kind of Steve Young, or if this was Lamar Jackson, would be singing about this as much, if not more, than we are as it's Patrick Mahomes. he is a dual threat quarterback. He did use his legs last year. He's not used them this year because he's been injured, and this is the first time. Well, the last 2 games now he's run for 50 yards. He's been his team's leading rusher.
He's the dual threat quarterback that does it the right way around. It's
Yeah,
pass first,
exactly.
run second,
Yeah.
not like Lamar that's run first, pass second.
I think the most interesting thing with Mahomes, like if you watch him, he doesn't actually stop moving in the pocket. You know, players like Breeze and Brady, they sit in the pocket. They're not completely statues, they're not still, but he bounces around. He's on one leg or 2 legs, moving around consistently, looking for like that next pass opportunity. Sometimes it's there and he flings the ball and it goes 60 yards to Sammy Watkins. Other times it's not there and he takes the run.
I wish that the Giants had a quarterback that was as good off their back foot and on one leg, or with throwing it no look as Mahomes is as anyone else is doing it from the right fundamentals.
We saw this special skills like last year as well. I remember that game against the Broncos where he was getting tackled by Von Miller. He moved the ball from his right hand to his left hand and then threw it all before he'd hit the deck. It was amazing. That's the type of skill he is. I said to a Bears friend after this game, I was like, do you remember when the 49ers and the Bears both passed up on Patrick Mahomes in that draft? And there's 10 or 11 other teams that passed up on Patrick Mahomes. Okay, one of them to Sean Watson, but
I think Mahomes is a great quarterback. I am in no way denying that. But Mecole Hardman is a special talent. Tyreek Hill is a fantastic receiver. Travis Kelce is one of the best tight ends of the last 10 years. He should be pretty good. He's got an amazing O-line in front of him. You've got all pros from last year in that O-line. He should be doing well.
The O-line wasn't that good though this week. The Titans were getting through, but because his movement is so good, they weren't getting to him. But as much as they.
Oh, I know it's different. If you had Joe Flacco in the pocket, they would have scored no points. But I still feel this Chiefs team there is quality in every area.
Do you not think that those players you just named would not be necessarily as good on another team? Because we've seen Sammy Watkins on other teams, and he was pretty rubbish.
I specifically didn't mention him.
You did specifically not mention him. I am very much mentioning him because he was the lead receiver on the day. He looked dangerous on virtually every play.
yeah, I mean, he shows up for one game every month.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And,
But on any other team, he's ineffective. And Patrick Mahomes makes him look like a number 1, 2 receiver. And you've got Hardman the same. He turns up for the games when Watkins doesn't turn up. Obviously, Tyreek Hill would be good on any team.
It's different. Watkins has been decent as a Chief. He was drafted to a Bills team, which was dross.
Yes, that's true.
he went to the Rams, who were okay, and
They were more than okay, and he was the
do that
worst
great,
of the receivers.
But that was with a new quarterback.
Okay.
And not as good a team as the Rams team that went to the Super Bowl last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
I just think, I mean, like I said, in no way am I looking to take anything away from Mahomes, but this is a really good Chiefs team. And I don't think the rest of the team gets enough credit because he's phenomenal in what he does, but...
What did LaShawn McCoy do in this game?
He
was inactive.
Inactive.
He was inactive, was he? I thought I did say this. I didn't watch the game with you guys.
I think that's the one weakness of that
Running
Chiefs
back.
offense is that the running back. So
Williams is doing a
Williams
good
did
job.
You're right. He had 17 carries, 45 yards, which is 2.6 yards a carry, and that's you want to be around 3.5, 4 yards a carry. He's good.
You just want to be above the 1 yard per carry, so Paul doesn't get
exactly.
compare it to his cock.
The thing with the running game is, I'd like to go to the Miami Dolphins team now and go, who do you not want? Because the leading rusher for the Chiefs and the leading rusher for the 49ers this weekend, both waived by the Dolphins.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think Mostert was.
He's been waived by nearly everyone else.
He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
waived by 6 teams, I think.
Yeah, 6 teams.
I'm going to say the Dolphins are in there.
The leading rusher for the Chiefs was actually Mahomes.
I mean, the leading running back.
Oh, okay. Just saying.
The leading man who does rushing.
How much research have you done?
What's that?
Yeah. Look, Patrick Mahomes is. I said this last week. He's the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
He just is
Yeah.
the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah,
and
I think-
now he's fully fit.
I think Lamar Jackson is he's going to win the MVP because he had a good season. Obviously, we say Mahomes was injured midway through the season,
Yeah.
which means he missed some games. He hasn't been as good as he probably was last year. And I think everyone was holding him to that kind of pedestal of like, you threw 50 touchdowns last year. What have you done for me lately? But looking at him, he's still bloody amazing. He still is the best quarterback in the league, I think.
Yeah. I think last week we called him the true MVP.
Yeah.
Whereas, it's not.
How did the Chiefs manage to keep Derrick Henry in check? Because he got, 60 yards?
I'll tell you how.
Go on.
It's a combination of Chris Jones and Frank Clark.
Because Chris Jones looks amazing.
Yeah, and he's literally just come back from injury, and he had I think there was two. His first 3 plays all went either tackles for loss or sacks. He was awesome, and Frank Clark did what Frank Clark said he was going to do before the game. He got
jump offside a lot.
Sorry,
jump offside a lot. Why would you say you were going to do that?
Yeah, Frank Clark said that people just aren't tackling him properly. A little bit like what Earl Thomas did the week before last, but Frank Clark actually followed through. Tackled
that
him
as well.
properly, yeah.
To be fair, Earl Thomas probably followed through while he was being pushed.
Earl Thomas got smashed away like a little infant trying to tackle him.
Earl Thomas followed through in the bed, but
thank you. It's been a while.
We've not had that reference for a couple of weeks now.
We've cut it out well, I thought.
I think that I'd like to take back anything I said about Frank Clark when the trade happened.
Well, you think he's been a very good acquisition?
Yeah.
He jumped offside about 3 times in this game.
There was a period.
I heard Duncan shout, "Are you D Ford in disguise?"
Yeah, there was a period. I think that they had about 2 or 3 offsides in very short succession.
Yeah. Twice in a row, and then a third one not long after.
Yeah. People make mistakes, but overall, yeah, I agree. Frank Clark's been a great acquisition. Not so much to start the season, but now he's coming into his own.
Till Suggs as well.
Oh, he could have had an interception.
Yeah.
How he didn't just hold on to that, I don't know. But they did a
That's
wonderful
a surefire
job.
Hall of Famer in the future.
Terrell Suggs, yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Nailed on. He's right up there with Frank Gore.
Yeah.
Keeping Henry in check made the difference in this game, because if he had got off and running and got a similar performance to what he's had, so 785 yards in the previous 3 games, and what we will get to in the second of the championship games, if he'd have had a performance anywhere like that, I thought the Chiefs were in trouble, because that would have opened up the passing game. And Tannehill was fairly good, 2 touchdowns, 209 yards.
Yep.
Like he didn't do anything wrong. It's just that there was no running game to support him, and it's like we've said every week. As long as the running game is there, Tannehill is good enough to win games.
There was a period, I think, like before we came into the match, they said if the Titans do get off to a fast start, they have the ability through Derrick Henry to control the clock, and they did start doing that. And I think it was the first or beginning of the
12
second
minutes.
quarter. They had a really long drive. It's like, keep Mahomes off the pitch, brilliant.
Yeah, but it took Mahomes 1 minute 47 seconds to score.
This is the problem with that, is that they score so quickly. They were doing like what the Rams were doing last year before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and this is possibly, and we will get to this, but possibly a weakness for the Chiefs. Their defense is going to get knackered because it is on the field so much.
Yeah, we'll come on to that.
But so big man touchdown in this game. Dennis Kelly,
love it.
320 pounds,
Biggest big man.
Yeah, the heaviest.
First O lineman with 2 touchdowns since
Fridge.
the year 2000 is the answer I was looking for. No O lineman has had 2 in a season since the year 2000.
There you go.
And here's the question.
He's the biggest one to score a touchdown.
He's the biggest one this season. I don't know if he's the biggest one ever. Here's the question I asked you before we started.
Doesn't that make him pretty much equal with like Beckham? For no touchdown
Yeah, he
this
might
year?
have had the same as Beckham.
Possibly.
Mike Vrabel, linebacker.
He is the heaviest player in postseason history at 321 pounds.
Wow. Mike Vrabel, linebacker. How many career touchdowns did Mike Vrabel, linebacker, have?
12.
It was 12.
I didn't actually look that up. I just
It was
leaped
12.
over the top.
Now that is impressive. And
Look
do
at
you
your
know
laptop.
one of them was in the Super Bowl against Andy Reid in Andy Reid's last appearance, which was
2005.
2000. Well, here we go again.
God,
2004 season, but 2005 technically.
The actual Super Bowl was in 2005.
So annoying.
Is that Eagles?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who's that
Yeah,
against?
the Patriots.
Oh, good
Because
Patriots.
that's
of
who
course.
Mike Vrabel played for.
Yes.
When Andy Reid feasted the sleeping arrangement in the Super Bowl.
Yes. That's very much the one. Andy Reid, second longest gap between Super Bowls. Is this the one you knew the answer to? Who was it, Jim?
Dick Vermeil.
It was Dick Vermeil, who came back and went with
The Rams.
yes,
Yeah,
the
after
Rams.
going with the Eagles before.
Yes, he did. I didn't actually write down how many years between it was, but it was a long time.
He's been on a Football Life. It is a good one to watch, actually.
I've got the America's Game Rams one. I'll find out for you later.
Okay,
it's on my plan.
Please do.
Did anyone see Jim? I know is quite is on Twitter as much as I am. Did you see the?
Are you jobless as well?
No. But a load of Titan.
But John just does just as much at his job.
Oh yeah. But a load of Eagles and Titans fans had found the trade for Kelly because he came from the Eagles. They traded, I think,
Dorial Green Beckham
for Kelly.
Yeah, that was a long.
And of course, now you look at it, and the most popular comment is from a bloke from Sunday going, I get the feeling this might come up. This guy might become a good trade in the 2020 playoffs. And yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Did anyone see the Dan Sorensen hit on Tannehill?
Oh, it was amazing.
That was brilliant, wasn't it?
And Tannehill looked terrified about 15 steps before he even got there. It was like, oh no, it's him.
I'll say it's Dan Sorensen the last two games for a backup safety. He's come in and he's been a bit of a star of that team.
He's turned his career around, I think.
Yeah.
Second
if
half
that
of the
was
season.
a sitcom, it would pause. There'd be a record scratch. You know. Now I bet you're wondering how I got here.
I swear to God, in that hit, Tannehill aged 5 years.
course I
Like his
mentioned-
face just changed.
The Matthew hit on Henry,
Yeah.
where just took him
thunder.
off his feet. Oh,
Yeah.
I loved it.
Tyrann
Absolutely.
Mathieu was showing in this game why the Texans should have paid him, because the Texans secondary was so bad and Matthew was so good in this game. The Texans should have paid him. The weakness on that team is the secondary, and the Chiefs absolutely needed this player and paid him. And he said, I will only play for a Super Bowl contender, and the Texans didn't want to pay him.
When you look at that, he was an acquisition in the offseason, Frank Clark was an acquisition in the offseason, and before as this last season ended, we called out that the Chiefs' defense wasn't as good as it can be. They brought in those two players, pretty much turned it from maybe a bottom 20 defense probably into a top 10 defense.
And of course, they picked up Suggs a few weeks ago as well.
Yeah.
So it's
Didn't he get released by Arizona? Is that that is what?
Yeah,
was
they let him go. So he could basically
go and win the Super Bowl.
do what he wanted.
The season was over.
Yeah, they were trying. They said they were going to try their younger players out, didn't they? So that's the right thing to do. Adam Humphrey deserves a name check. I know the Titans didn't go through, but he converted 2 third down and 1 fourth down conversions, and actually looked like the player the Titans thought they were getting.
Yeah,
Everybody laughed at him when he chose the Titans over the Patriots, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
He showed them.
By not going to the Super Bowl.
Well, he got to the championship game.
He did get to the championship game. Look, I really like Adam Humphries. I was disappointed when we didn't sign him, and I thought he showed, because I think he's missed the last six or 7 games as well, 6 games, and this was his best performance of the season, I think. So, look, the Titans, you can't say they were unlucky. They were outplayed. But if you'd have said before the season the Titans were going to the championship game, their first championship game since 1999, no one would have given you money
I'm
on
sure
that.
at the beginning of the year we all tried to call who'd been the NFC and who'd been the AFC championships. None of us said the Titans. No one would say the Titans, and if they did, they would have been off their rocker. We would have laughed at them, just like people laughed at me about 49ers might get to 8-8.
But you mentioned what you said earlier with Frank Clark and Tyrann Mathieu. It's the same with the 49ers. I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit in terms of before we go to the 49ers, but D Ford and Quan Alexander,
Yep.
just available great players.
I'm sure we'll get into it, but
You've got to be prepared to spend the money.
Yeah.
That's what teams get themselves in trouble when they think they can make a saving by not spending.
it's across every sport.
Yeah.
The ones that are winning, it's the same with Liverpool compared to the other teams in the Premier League. The ones that are winning are the teams that are run sensibly.
They spend money in the right places as well. They don't go splash out on a massive star player like a Odell Beckham or whatever it might be.
It's the same with LeBron in the basketball.
Yeah.
He was great in Cleveland when he was surrounded by other talent, and then he's moved. The talent is there, and it's bad. It's just bad. You can be the best player in your sport.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's a team sport.
It's pretty rare that you have a team sport and there is one player who can win it for the whole team.
Michael Jordan.
Like I said,
Very
it's pretty
few.
rare.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're looking effectively for a generational talent.
Harry Kuehl.
Like I said, you're looking for a generation talent.
Before he became a dick. But yeah, no.
Do you really want to start talking about Leeds on this podcast?
No, I do not. But yeah, I do think he's not going to win on his own, but the Chiefs may have one, though.
I think so. I mean, he's now due for a new contract, because it's the end of his now third season.
Yeah.
So he's eligible now for a
And how
contract.
many of these other players are they going to have to sacrifice? Because Mahomes is going to be the best played quarterback.
Look, you're looking Mahomes. He's going to be a $40 million a year contract.
And is
for a
there a
long
risk
time
then that you take away the things surrounding him that we started with are helping to make him so great?
Yeah, I mean,
Because that always happens.
potentially something has to be sacrificed. Whether it's whether you can't afford to give Tyreek Hill another contract later on, you have to rely on rookie wide receivers or a rookie offensive line. It's at that point where, like John says, the management of the team, how well it's run, comes into effect. Because, if you have a talent like Mahomes and you're able to quickly get him up to speed and be able to kind of pay him on a rookie contract and then use the money elsewhere around the team, you stand a good chance to win. If you're the Green Bay Packers and you've given Aaron Rodgers $35 million a year, you've then got to be very specific about where you're going to spend money and how you're going to fill gaps with good rookies. So, it's a balancing act. Or Alan Lazard.
On the other end, you've got Tannehill, who is now a free agent.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. And Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And Jack Conklin as well, right tackle, who is in that offensive line has been brilliant this year, and it's important how they all keep that together.
I did see a headline on NFL.com before we left that Conklin and Logan Ryan are
Logan Ryan is the other one as well.
Due to stay.
Yeah.
If you were Tannehill, you started the season as a backup, being kicked out by Miami. Do you now test the free? I know you've had a really great year at the Titans, but do you test free agency now, or do you? I mean, you've got to obviously wait for the offer from the Titans, but he's never going to be as marketable as he is right now.
He needs to think of the Nick Foles situation.
Well, yeah,
If the Titans offer him somewhere between 15 and 20 million a season over the next 2 years, he should bite their hand off and just be the good quarterback that he is in a team that can be built because he hasn't taken all the money.
Absolutely agree with that. He should know when he's onto a good thing. He's going to have a team built around him with a game plan which works for his skill set. Actually, your point around Nick Foles is absolutely spot on. Like, Nick Foles has never been any good anywhere else other than Philadelphia. Tannehill, he was average at best at Miami. He's in a place where he's winning. He's respected. You got to pay a massive amount by Miami. Like,
Yeah,
over
he doesn't
100
need
million.
the
He
money.
doesn't need the money. If you can get 20 million for the next 2 to 3 years,
But here's the key.
Take it.
Here's the key for the Titans: you can't overpay Derrick Henry. You've got to keep Derrick Henry, but you cannot overpay Derrick Henry.
I
This is a
worry for
wonderful-
Derrick Henry.
This is a wonderful time, though, because you've seen too much overpaying of running backs. You look at Le'Veon Bell, you look at Zeke. The market's saturated, and you've seen we're seeing it like old with you can just get a Philip Lindsay to come in. There are quality running backs all.
The amount of snaps not only through pro career but through college, everything. He's approaching like Arian Foster, DeMarco Murray levels, and we've seen what happened. I mean,
They both just dropped off.
Yeah.
and he's a bigger body, I guess, than them. But we'll see. Is he hardier than them? He's had
his last
2 years.
His last year at Alabama, he had nearly 400 touches of the ball, which is an incredible amount for any running back.
Didn't he, in his finals game? Didn't he have like 47 touches?
Something like
Let me just check here. You want to test how hard Derrick Henry is?
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go behind him and say, "Griff thinks you're a dick," and then run away.
You know he's pretty quick as well, right?
He's way quicker than you.
I'm not Griff. But yeah,
I'm pretty
doesn't know
sure
that.
if somebody calls me a dick, I'm gonna chase the guy running
Yeah.
away.
I am literally going to shoot the messenger.
If the Titans keep Tannehill, Henry, Logan Ryan, which it sounds like, and Conklin, is this a playoff-bound team again next season? Does that guarantee them, or as
guarantee.
close as you can? With the injury bug and whatever, it's always difficult. But is it the best way forward for this team to be back in the playoffs?
it's the best way forward.
Yeah.
The thing for them, it doesn't guarantee playoffs next year because you've got to imagine next year Steelers aren't going to be as bad.
Well, the AFC in general is I think this shows the AFC is
Yeah.
strong, but I think
Yeah.
the AFC South is pretty strong as well. I think the Texans won. Remember the Titans went for a wild card.
The
Texans
Texans
won
are
that
good.
division.
The Colts, you would hope, would be better.
Colts
next
will give
season,
them a game,
and the Jags will be rubbish.
well, you don't know what's going to happen now that Coughlin's gone, and they've got 2 first-round picks going into the draft. So,
But they've got Doug Moore on.
yeah, I know. I'm trying. Like, they'll give them a game, but yeah, I think the best way for the Titans to proceed is to try and keep as many of those key pieces, maybe add a few more within the draft and some decent free agency pickups. Take it again, go again.
Okay, the NFC Championship game occurred late on Sunday night and pitted rookie head coach Matt LaFleur against third-year coach Kyle Shanahan. Both teams finished 13-3 in the regular season. Both had fairly easily handled their opponents on divisional weekend, and now they squared up as clearly the best 2 teams in the NFC. Duncan and Packers fans, please switch off now. It was the Packers 20, 49ers 37 in a result that flattered the Packers.
I would agree.
I'd agree with that. I'm not even being biased there.
I mean, being a little biased.
A little bit, maybe.
Fuck the Packers.
But
So at the start of this season, these were 2 teams that, Jim aside, few people predicted massive success for. The Niners were already on the up. Jim's going to tell you what he said because he's been back to listen to our show from way back. But the Packers, we thought under Matt LaFleur, were heading for somewhere between 8-8 and 10-6 because we didn't think Rodgers would get on with the new coach and respect him. We knew nothing about Matt LaFleur, who once had dinner with Sean McVay, and we said they didn't have a running game. The defense is not good enough. Look, they finished 13-3. They won a division that included the Vikings, who also got to the playoffs. They steamrolled some teams. They ran others close and proved they could play in close games. And really, the only team they came massively unstuck against was the 49ers twice.
Yeah.
And therein is the shortcoming. There is something clearly fundamentally wrong with the way they play, but LaFleur has, in his first year, he's going to have time to sort this out. So, as for San Francisco, the 3rd year of this revolution of turning this around, it's quite something, and you can't really fault anything they've done this season.
No.
Take it away, Jim. Just tell us what you think.
No, you can't. Like Chris said, I went back and listened. We did the NFC, AFC previews before the season started, and me and Gary, we spoke about the NFC West, and we spoke about the 49ers, and Gary was very negative about the 49ers. Injuries, sadness was his prediction for the 49ers. Yes, they have had a lot of injuries this year, but the difference this year has been that where those injuries have occurred, other players have stepped up. You look at their running back stable, there's 3 running backs in Tevin Coleman, Mostert, and Matt Breida, who in different games have all come through and played well.
Don't forget your most highly played running back hasn't played for you in 2 years.
Jared McKinnon hasn't had a game yet because he keeps getting injured. On the defensive side, we've lost Quan Alexander, we lost D Ford, Akila Witherspoon was out for a good period of time. Some of the safeties were out. Scary Tart was out for a while. Bosa had injury problems coming into the start of the seasons, but throughout that, the team culture has, I don't know, this year, whenever they win, they look like they enjoy it. Like, especially on Sunday, Garoppolo had he didn't have to do anything. It's well documented. He made 8 passing attempts, completed 6 of them, 77 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He spent the whole day handing the ball off to the running back because the running back was just absolutely destroying the Packers. But every touchdown he scored, he ran into the end zone and he celebrated with them. You don't see that from the likes of Aaron Rodgers, for instance. You don't see him celebrating as much for his team. They have fun. They seemed, and one of the comments made was that they didn't see this team coming together as a unit. I'd say they're probably one of the most cohesive teams in terms of how they work together, how they seem to enjoy themselves, and how they seem to get on and step up when they need to. And they're all playing for each other. George Kittle is a tremendous example. He had 1 target, 1 catch for 19 yards, which was decent. I didn't think it was that much, to be honest, but he loves run blocking. Run it again.
He was shouting, run it again. He was killing people in the run game.
He is absolutely, and he's not just destroying kind of linebackers, he's destroying defensive ends. Against the Vikings, there were several pictures of him taking on Danielle Hunter all the time, Everton Griffin. Same in this match. The 49ers run game was absolutely on point. And what I particularly loved was that Kyle Shanahan didn't get too clever. He didn't go, the running game is brilliant. Let's throw some play action passes into this. Like, no, the running game's working. You look down the play sheet and it's like gain 5 yards, gain 6 yards, gain 20 yards, gain 5 yards, gain 6 yards. They're getting over the gain line every single time. And it's well documented. Most starters had a career game, 220 yards.
Second most in postseason history, I think, to Eric Dickerson.
Exactly. The most that a 49ers running back has ever got.
Yeah.
Ever.
4 touchdowns?
Yeah, 4 touchdowns, 3 of those in the first half. Average is 7.6.
Who's he got to compare to? Like, just Frank Gore?
Just Frank
in
Gore,
his rubbish.
Yeah.
All right. So, look, there were so many things that were impressive about this Niners team. One of the first things is that they didn't need Jimmy G. He has been growing as a quarterback, and doubtless he can do a lot more than he's been asked to do.
And just on that, actually, Jimmy Garoppolo was the only quarterback in the NFL to finish in the top 5 in pass touchdowns, completion percentage, and yards per attempt during the regular season.
Yeah.
He's more than a game manager. He's a good quarterback. If you need him, he's there, and he's got better throughout the season, but they didn't need him on Sunday.
No, and that was absolutely the right thing to do. Find out what's working for you and run it into the ground. What is the deal with Tevin Coleman? He left with a shoulder and arm injury.
Dislocated shoulder.
Will he be back for?
They said that they're hopeful.
Because I think that's important. Because if we rarely see a running back for the Niners do it 2 or 3 weeks in a row, it seems to be somebody different every week. And Tevin Coleman's a big part of that mix. Because you can plan for one running back. But Coleman and Mostert are different running backs. Brader's different again.
You've still got Brader to come in as well.
And you're forgetting, it's the Super Bowl. CJ Anderson will be somewhere waiting for a phone call.
He's sat on his sofa waiting for the call. Okay, how good is the Niners' defense? They were supposedly only second to the New England Patriots in defense this season, but I would be confident in saying this is one of the best defenses we've seen since the peak Seahawks. And there's no coincidence that Richard Sherman is coming back into his powers again. Another interception in this game. That's 5 for the season. Mm-hmm. And he's just lead. We said this last week. That defense needed a leader. He is leading and he is enjoying himself. He back rolls with the pass and he just having a great time.
He's a big game player.
But
that's what he loves.
Are they the best defense in the league?
I would say so, but I'm very biased.
No, but you're allowed to be biased. It's your team.
It's a team of first-round talent.
They've all suddenly clicked with the addition of actual proper edge rushers. So you look at Buckner, Armstead, and Solomon Thomas. They're all interior rushers. I know Armstead plays on the edge, but he was drafted as an interior rusher. They get Bosa and they get D Ford, and then they've got 2 legitimate edge rushers, which means you have to pay attention to them, and you have to pay attention to Bosa because he's just taking tackles apart.
They have. I'm going to say they have the best defensive line in the league, which just gives. It makes the job so much easier for the secondary because the
quarterbacks are under pressure
they have
all the time.
No time.
Okay, so with that in mind, though, on the other side of the ball, back to Jimmy G. People have been telling me this week the Patriots' biggest mistake was letting Jimmy G walk. Jim's just given us the stats, finishing top 5 and all these things. Is it a massive mistake, or is it an inevitable consequence of a salary cap league where you have to pick and choose? Yeah. We've won a Super Bowl since he left.
Yeah.
It will be galling if we have to watch him win one when we now require a player.
At the point of trade, he was due a new contract, which the 49ers subsequently gave him, but so was Brady.
Yeah.
And you can't afford, no matter how good the rest of your team is, you can't afford to pay 2 quarterbacks that amount of money.
No. So should the Patriots have moved on, or did they do the right thing at the time? Here's the question.
They've played in the Super Bowl 2 years straight since doing it, so you can't really argue with the decision.
No, I would agree.
And they were still in the playoffs as well, even...
Yeah, they didn't win this year, but
there was a shock loss in the first round of the playoffs, you know.
I just wondered. I mean, I thought at the time the Niners overpaid for a guy who'd played 5 games. But
I still think they overpaid for potential.
I don't mind
but
the paying of the second round pick to get him. The contract was a lot.
Yeah, it's the
there's no
contract.
doubt
But
the
the-
contract was a lot.
the way it's weighted, though,
It's kind of worked
it's-
out now.
It's gone they've had the worst of it, and it gets easier. So
Yeah,
it's,
and that's when as a period where they had a lot of salary cap. And
it's smart,
It's it's
smart
running,
ownership.
yeah.
I think for Patriots, the issue has been it's been 2 or 3 years now, and they've not replaced Jimmy G.
That is exactly
And
the problem.
So now they're still playing catch up because they've not replaced everyone else. They've not replaced Gronk.
We don't want to get
Blah, blah,
Patriots
blah,
heavy.
blah,
I'll
blah,
just
blah.
ask
No,
you
I
the
think in
question.
terms of being Patriots heavy, I think he was drafted in 2014, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
And there is just, you look at the quarterbacks that were drafted before him, and I'll read a couple out for you.
Go on.
You can see there was just quality upon quality in that year's draft. So
Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles, Johnny Manziel,
So, yeah.
Yep.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy
going there?
Bridgewater, Derek Carr,
Yep.
and
There's a couple of good ones.
you've
That's it.
That's him.
And then
Yeah.
Jimmy G.
And you've got great players before him. Bishop Sankey, running back for the
Yeah. I
Titans.
remember him.
Bishop
yeah.
Sankey
God.
is a good player who will be playing in the XFL.
Is he?
I believe so.
Nice.
And tight end favourite Austin Seferian Jenkins. So quality players drafted above him.
ASJ.
But I think you've got with Brady. I think there was a plan him being drafted for Brady to disappear at some point.
Yeah.
Belichick clearly wanted to
Belichick
move on
wanted
and
to
wasn't
be-
allowed. Let's move away from
Yeah.
the Patriots. Duncan, if you're still listening, this is the bit where we're going to talk about whether Aaron Rodgers is over the hill. Aaron Rodgers, in
No.
2 games against the Niners, was outscored 50-0 in the first half of those 2 games combined. So, is Aaron Rodgers a victim of his team's lack of downfield desire, or is Aaron Rodgers not as capable as he was? Because I would say look, I've come on here all season and said he just looks like a game manager now who does the odd great thing. Do you know he led the league in did the same
doesn't
last
take risks.
year? No risks. But now the no risk is also tainted by not as accurate downfield.
The other problem is it's no risk, but Jimmy Graham had an all right game last week.
Yep.
But it's no risk without a decent tight end. Like if you've got a decent tight end or another receiver that can catch the balls across the middle, other than Devontae Adams, you can afford not to take risk. Or if you're going to check down to a running, he very rarely passes to his running back.
Aaron Jones has done more catching.
Don't get me wrong. Jones
Started the
had a
season.
good season.
Yeah.
He's ran it well, and when he has got the ball in terms of kind of passes, he's done very well. But Rodgers never takes a check down.
No.
Rodgers
He
is
either throws it away or he throws it downfield.
He was most upset when they got rid of the tight end. Was it last year or the year before? Whose name now completely escapes me. He wanted to keep
Jared Cook.
Jared Cook.
Yeah.
Thank you. And rightly so. Cook had a great season. He wasn't interested in Jimmy Graham. He wanted Jared Cook. The team didn't keep him because he wanted more money. The issue with Rodgers is
gave
he
Graham
trusts,
the biggest
he trusts, Devontae Adams won't throw to any of the other wide
and
receivers,
he's
even when they're open.
But he's come out and said this, where he's got a massive level of trust with Devontae Adams, and that's great, awesome,
Of course.
superb.
But
you've got to be able to throw to 3-4 other receivers.
it
at
felt
least.
very much like, again, not to get Patriots heavy, but it felt like Brady this season. I'll throw to Edelman and no one else because Gronk's not there. And it now feels like the same with Rodgers. Adams isn't there, Cobb isn't there, Jordy Nelson's not there, and Jared Cook's not there. I don't want to throw to anyone else. I just want to throw to Devontae Adams. And you can't do that when you're over the hill and you're on the slide, which he is. It may be a steady decline, but he is.
I think we've talked about Aaron Rodgers like being, he's Hall of Fame worthy Aaron Rodgers, and yes, he probably will get into the Hall of Fame. But you're right in that he's going to be 36 come the start of next season. And okay, we've seen quarterbacks play very well in older age, but is Aaron Rodgers going to be that quarterback? Have they now missed that window?
He is well preserved. But do you know what? So our Packers fan Duncan said to me, he said the problem for Aaron Rodgers is now to be classified as a great quarterback, you have to have 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
1 Super Bowl doesn't cut it.
I don't know.
Now,
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino, no Super Bowls. Trent Dilfer, 1 Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And here is the problem.
Drew
Nick Foles,
Brees.
1 Super Bowl. Drew Brees, 1 Super Bowl. Great. So it's a really mixed bag.
I don't know. I think there was that period in 2012, 13, 14 where Aaron Rodgers was brilliant.
He was the best quarterback in the league.
absolutely
Yeah,
superb.
absolutely.
He was Mahomes.
But they had no defense.
But they had no defense. now they've got a defence in some places. I think they've got a good secondary. They've got good edge rushers. They haven't got a middle linebacker to be able to tackle anybody running through the line, but they have invested in defence. They need to invest in some weapons for Rodgers to throw to.
Blake Martinez, he's all right.
Well, he didn't do much last week, did he?
No. But
He thinks he's on his way out. He was very upset in his press conference. I thought he played well, but he was being asked to do everything, and he feels like he's on his way out of that team, and I think that's a mistake.
They need a decent defensive tackle who doesn't let people run through them, because a lot of those runs for the 49ers were going through the middle. Yes, there were some edge runs, and there was some incredible blocking by not just the defensive line, but Deebo Samuel had a couple of amazing blocks. But there were a lot of runs going through the middle as well.
All right.
I'm going to say Rodgers' best game this season was against Raiders. Week 4 or 5, quite early in the season. He did that without wide receivers because Adams was injured. He threw it, and he was brilliant. He was the Aaron Rodgers of 3 years ago, with using Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, and a bloke who I can't remember the name of because
Geronimo Allison,
Jake Kumaro.
No,
St. Brown.
you're mentioning wide receivers. He didn't use them. He used
it was some
Robert Tonyan,
maybe
Jay Sternberger.
But yeah, he was brilliant. And
is that not because he didn't have a choice in that game? There was no one else to look to. He just had to
possibly
throw the ball up.
And I think if they can give him some weapons that he trusts, if you're paying Jimmy Graham $10 million a year,
Yeah, I mean he's
to
got to go, isn't he?
to move like a glacier, then get rid, bring in a young tight end who
Jay Sternberger.
Jay Sternberger.
Yeah, they've
could
got
be-
him. Yeah.
I think they have got him.
find
That
a
big white
find
guy's
a
wearing number 87.
find a receiver that
That's 6 foot
LaFleur and Rodgers seem to be getting on, and I think they need to be
I'll tell
discussing.
you right now, if the Cowboys don't re-sign Amari Cooper,
Yeah.
the Packers should be absolutely throwing money
AJ
at Amari
Green.
Cooper. I don't know about AJ Green. I
I
think
don't know. You could probably get him cheap on a 1 year deal.
you can probably get him cheap, but is he going to be any good?
He's been all right recently.
It's going to be better than Jake Kumaro.
Alan Lazard. Look, here's the thing then. Let's get back to the Niners. How many
Yes.
teams have made a Super Bowl the year after winning 4 or fewer games?
Well, I'm quite happy to tell you there's the 99 Rams and the 88 Bengals, Michael.
Well done for looking that up.
Someone did a bit of research.
Only one team has ever won the Super Bowl
Sorry,
after.
what did you just say I did?
Research.
Yeah, see. Told you.
This is why I hand you a running order when I turn up, so you can go and look up the answers. Yeah,
I happened to look that up myself.
only the
while I
Rams
was-
have ever won the Super Bowl after winning 4 or fewer games the year before. So this is a massive turnaround and a well-deserved trip to the Super Bowl. Clearly, this team are the best in the NFC. Nobody is shocked or disappointed
Now.
now.
Hey, you know what I read earlier today, actually? What the 49ers started the game against the Bengals as 1 point underdogs.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
But
but
that
That's the second game of the season.
Green Bay came into this game against you 8-point underdogs. 8 points for a team that went 13-3. That's insane.
But we said this last week. It was a sneaky 13-3, wasn't it? Like you said,
yeah, they were a
it was
10-6 team.
It was
really.
only really the Raiders they blew out. Everyone else was like, they snuck past that team. They've snuck
Let's
past
not
that
forget
team.
they got annihilated by the Eagles as well. I couldn't think who it was. Somebody really wiped before with them. I think it was the Eagles. And if there are still problems at the Packers, but
But for a rookie head coach to go to a championship game,
13-3 championship game. Look, like you
Fair
say,
play.
it's just help Aaron Rodgers now.
Yeah.
The defense is good enough because Aaron Rodgers just needs a bit more help. You don't have to be perfect on defense. It's not
started-
like a lot of teams that have to build from defense to help their quarterback.
If we go back to, we mentioned what we said at the start of the year. We said the Packers would be better because the defense has got better. Rodgers is going to be starting not on his own 5-yard line every time. It's proved the point. They just need to continue building. It's a year of transition. Make sure that it's not lost next year.
But there's a £35 million block to them getting better.
It's fine. There's a £35 million block this year. It's going to be there. It is what it is.
Any concerns going into the Super Bowl that Jimmy G will be rusty as he barely played in the championship game?
No.
because if you get into a shootout, which you might,
Could do, yeah.
But he
should be
been
good
very
enough.
good.
I'm
I
just
think,
asking.
yeah,
he was underused basically the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, effectively he was. But I think even when he did, it's a small sample size, but he still completed like 75% of his passes.
Oh yeah, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
What one thing, if you're picking something for Green Bay, what is the one thing you're going to do? Is it get rid of Jimmy G? Is it go and sign AJ Green? What is the one thing? If you could only do one thing with that team, what do you do?
Draft a wide receiver in the first round.
Just put an advert in the paper for wide receivers. See who turns up. Hold an open day. Get Victor Cruz to turn up, like the Giants did.
Pay for some stem cell stuff for Jordy Nelson.
Yeah, things have gone south since they lost Jordy Nelson.
But it's, for me,
It's the whole wide receiver core is basically what we're getting.
I think you need to
I think if you
free
have-
agency.
If you have two more weapons for Aaron Rodgers to throw to, it frees up Devontae Adams. Like on Sunday, there was a lot of chat about will Rich Sherman move from like what is left cornerback over to the right hand side, and he didn't. And it wasn't needed because Emmanuel Mosley played really well. He got an interception as well. But you are going to have that with a lot of other teams where they are going to put their number one cornerback on Devontae Adams because they know he's going to get the ball all the time. Once you have another legitimate threat, either another wide receiver or a decent tight end that's not moving at a snail's pace, it throws open the whole game.
So, Super Bowl 54 showdown is set. Miami will play host to the Chiefs and the Niners in hopefully an epic battle between two fascinating teams, potentially one for the ages. So, thoughts on the following, please. So, we're going to compare and contrast the teams. First up, best quarterback. Who has the best quarterback?
Yeah, it's clearly Kansas. Patrick Mahomes is 2 levels above Jimmy G at least.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
He's top 1 in the league.
Yeah.
2 points to Kansas we can give.
Yeah.
2 points for Kansas. I think that's going to be the shortest one of all these debates. Possibly the second one as
the
well.
second
So
one.
the next
So
one will
the
be pretty
next
short
one-
as well.
The one thing I do want to say is every year you get this when the game's announced of where it's going to be. You get this. Oh, wouldn't it be lovely if so and so were playing? Like last year it was Atlanta, wasn't it? Wouldn't it be great if Atlanta made it to the game? It's in Miami. Our team's the drizzling shits. Nobody.
No one. No,
I look forward to
thinks
2
that's gonna
other
happen,
teams
yeah.
coming here.
Okay. So, best run game.
It's the Niners.
Yeah. By a while.
You've got the one that just trampled the Packers
And the Vikings.
and the Vikings, or old man McCoy.
He's not playing.
He's not playing.
He
He's
won't play,
inactive.
I think.
So we give it to the Niners because they have a run game.
I don't think it's as far a gap as the quarterbacks. I think Damian Williams had some really good games this season, and Mostert had an over-the-top amazing game in the championship game.
I think it is just and when we will come on to coaches later,
the,
but I
it's the
think
choices.
it's the schemes that Shanahan makes for the running game. Like if you look at all the a lot of the running backs Kyle Shanahan has had over the past.
Not Mike Shanahan. We're not going through his running backs.
Mike
to be fair,
Shanahan's running
Mike-
backs aren't bad either. Terrell Davis is all right.
He had a Hall of Fame running back
Yeah.
with 2,000 rushing yards in a Super Bowl winning season.
But Kyle Shanahan, he had Alfred Morris.
TD.
Oh,
He had Alfred Morris at Washington, and the one season that Alfred Morris was good.
yeah.
With Atlanta, he had Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman. And realistically, what's Atlanta done with their running game since? Not a lot. Got injured, sucked. And now he's doing it at the 49ers. They focus on the running game. I think, you could stick any running back in there, like they pretty much are, and they'd have success.
Yeah, that's fair. So combined with the run game, best O-line?
I'm going to go with the Niners because that O-line has been interchangeable this season and still produced
got
results.
a few injuries as well. Like they haven't got Weston Richburg, the centre.
McGlinchey's back, isn't he?
McGlinchey and Staley are both back. I think overall the 49ers running game O-line is slightly better.
I go with that. Just basically the O-line performance. I know it was against the Titans, who have a great defense, but if it wasn't for just how great Mahomes is, he could have been hit quite a lot.
And I agree. I think the Niners. I think Joe Staley
The
is an
edge.
amazing O-lineman.
Yeah.
I think also you've still got to give the Chiefs credit. They've got a very, very good O-line,
yes.
but
Yeah.
the Niners are better.
Yes, I would say they're still clearly better, but it's not a large difference. But yeah, the Niners surely have the edge there. Best receiving core?
Chiefs.
I think this is close
I
because
think it's closer than the QB in a running game, but I would give it
you
to the
compare tight ends. Kelce, Kittle are the two best tight ends in the league.
Yeah, I think that's a draw.
It's a draw. Tyreek Hill, Debo, Emmanuel
Tyreek
Sanders.
Every single day of the week.
Manuel Sanders and Sammy Watkins.
Watkins.
Negligible.
At the
Possibly
moment,
I'd
Sanders.
probably give that to Sanders.
I would give it to Sanders as a hands receiver, but at the moment, the way the game is being played between the two teams, Sammy Watkins is on the up, and I don't particularly rate him, but he's on the up, and Saunders has plateaued.
But I think it's what Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, exactly. Hardman makes a difference because he has been brilliant in games this season, and I'm not sure the Niners have a third receiver.
Well, I disagree with that. They do have Kendrick Bourne, who's not done. I mean, no receiver did a lot in the last game, so
No,
you got to
no.
wipe that out. But
Yeah.
in the previous game against the Vikings, he had 3 really important catches: 1 touchdown, and then 2 third down conversions. One which was a complete wobbler that was thrown to him, and he managed to make the catch, and one where he just plucked it out of the air.
So basically, you're saying you need Kendrick Bourne to step up. It's a Bourne ultimatum.
No, I don't need Kendrick Bourne to step up because
This might be the start of him becoming the number one wideout. Could be the Bourne supremacy.
oh,
I don't know what the other one was called.
no, let's just move on quickly. We'll give it to the
At the
Chiefs.
start of the season, people wanting to know who he was,
That's true.
and I told them all about the Bourne identity.
I tell you what, if he's unmarked, he'll be Bourne free. Hey, okay, that's the best I can do.
Not born again.
I'm giving this to Kansas. Does anybody really strongly want to disagree?
No,
No,
I've already said
It's not
Kansas.
strongly disagree, but
It's close.
I could almost flip a coin.
I'd like
That
to
on this
strongly
one.
disagree, just because there's things they did where you were like, ugh. Like McCole Hardman.
There's
good.
things you do where I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I did it in the lab
Just
about half hour ago. But McCole Hardman coming in. Oh yeah, the last thing they need is another ridiculously quick wide out, and he's been
The
brilliant.
Chiefs did drop it. They have been dropping a lot of passes as well. I think
That's
like,
true.
third quarter of the game, every third down conversion they missed was because of a dropped
And
pass.
the start of the game
Yeah.
against the Texans,
Yeah.
that first quarter was awful.
Even then, they were dropping at the start again in the first quarter. They're just so quick that
it's
if
the
they
speed
get
that kills.
separation,
Yeah, I mean,
and Sherman's great, but
It's not quick.
he's not
he's
the
quick, no.
quickest.
That's going to be that. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest problems to solve is the speed of the receivers against our secondary.
Yeah, absolutely. So best D line
Niners.
It's the Niners.
Yeah,
all day, every day.
Yeah, I mean, the Kansas D line's all right compared to especially what we
Yeah.
thought it could be at the start of the year.
It's more than all right. I mean, if I can be frank,
God almighty, I know where he's going with this.
Go on.
I'm not going to make any joke.
No,
as
just
soon as
gonna
as soon as I said it, I was like, "Oh God, yeah, Frank Clark." But if that's a very, very good D line at Kansas, but this 49ers has just been
The
revolutionary. this
return of
season.
Chris Jones makes this Kansas D line
I
a
think that's
proper threat.
I think it's really important that he's fit for the Chiefs. I think the biggest thing that one of the biggest reasons the Titans didn't get a hold of Mahomes on Sunday was because they only rushed 3 players and they committed a lot of resources to guarding kind of players that come out of the backfield. The 49ers are able to rush with just 4 players and get to a quarterback no matter what the offensive line is. They've got, like we said, 4 first-round picks plus D4 to come in. That defensive line is it's fit at the moment, and with Quan Alexander behind them and Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw, you haven't got best linebackers on here, but I'd give that to the 49ers as well. With all those players, coming at Patrick Mahomes, I think he's going to have a slightly tougher night than he's had in the previous 2 games.
Best secondary.
50-50. It's a Lamar.
Yeah.
The return to form of Sorensen
Yeah.
makes me think that Kansas's secondary is equal to anything the Niners can throw out there.
I think the Niners' cornerbacks are probably better. But I think the safeties are better for the Chiefs.
I agree with that.
I would think that's fair. I really think if Sorensen hadn't shown up the last 2 weeks, this was
Yeah,
clearly a
because-
Niners win in this category, but he has, and he hasn't just shown up. It's been all the big plays.
he's been
there.
Yeah.
So
It's a draw.
that's that. We'll call that one a draw. Best special teams. Divide this up. Kicker. I would
Robbie
say
Gould.
Harrison Butker is clearly the better of the two
So
kickers.
Robbie Gould has had a brilliant season again.
I'd go Butker.
Robbie Gould has had the most misses from under 50 yards in his career in a season.
Yeah, but he's still pretty good.
I'd still take Butker.
Was that not his longest career field goal
Yeah.
as well? Butker has been a revelation since he came in the league. I think he's second to
Tucker.
in field goal conversions. So I will give that to Kansas City.
It's probably his Butker this year, but I wouldn't say it's clear. But
Okay, that's fair.
If you're looking at return,
Gould's still a really good kicker. I mean, look at what happened when he wasn't there.
So from the kicking, you immediately go to the return
Well,
game.
hang on, no, you've missed out a position in the kicking there.
Punting.
Best punter.
Best punter.
I mean, we've not seen many of the punters for either 49ers or the Chiefs, but I think Wisnowski for a rookie punter has been awesome this year.
Do you want to back that up with something?
Yeah, he's been really good.
A figure. Have you got a figure you want to back it up with?
I think we're
No.
playing a shortest midget contest here.
Well, only because
He's
I
the
would
best
say
Australian to play
I would say
football.
Dustin Colquitt.
He's
equally
Michael
good.
Dixon's better.
No idea who that is.
The guy who's at the Seahawks.
He's a
The punter
Seahawks
there.
punter.
The guy who was the Pro Bowl who's Australian.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Wisnowski's better.
Cole
Also, he
Quitt.
sounds like that cartoon character, Mike Wazowski.
It's true.
The thing is, you only know punters when they
On the field a
when
lot.
they mess up, and Colquitt messed up in the against Houston. It was his chart kick. I don't know. I would have forgotten who the 49ers one is, so I'm going to say he's better because I don't know who he is.
I was just trying to avoid the return game because I think McCole Hardman's better.
Nicole Hardman is brilliant.
Far and away.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
Richie James, the 49ers, had one good run back, but I've not seen him do anything else during the season.
And let's not forget as well, when it's not McCole Hardman, it's Hill,
Yeah, who muffed a punt.
who did muff a punt, but
against the Texans.
you know, he's been to two Pro Bowls
Yeah.
as
I think overall
returner.
Pro
I think
Bowl
you-
bowls.
Pro Bowl bowls.
Pro Bowl.
Pro Bowl. You give it to the Chiefs, don't you?
yeah
I think you have to. Yeah, absolutely.
best coach.
Wow.
I mean, we're going Frank Gore here, aren't we? If longevity, you'd go on Big Andy Reid. But if you're going on who's a better coach, I'm going to go Shanahan.
I am going to immediately disagree and say that Andy Reid will completely out-scheme Shanahan in this game. I'm not saying the Chiefs will win. I just think Andy Reid can just call on so many years of experience that he is clearly the better coach.
So many years of experience of sucking at clock management.
Shanahan might be the McVay of this season, or a version of that, whereby he's got the new ideas, he's pulled the team forward. Andy Reid has been good every year.
But you've got to think this is different to McVay for me because McVay had never been there before. Shanahan has been there and been humbled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is Andy Reid.
So is Andy Reid. So all that's doing is reinforcing my opinion that Andy Reid has the experience and that matters. Look at Belichick.
So Andy Reid's been a coach for 21 years. This is the second time he's been.
Yeah. Most of the time because he loses to Belichick.
Yeah, if he was that good a coach.
I think it's a 50. I think this is a coin flip. Yes, I think Andy Reid's brilliant. If it was any other team in the Super Bowl other than the 49ers, I'd be massively backing the Chiefs. I'd love to see Andy Reid win a Super Bowl because he absolutely deserves it for the career he's had, the revolutions he's made in the game. But it's the 49ers, so I've got to obviously back them.
John?
It's I don't know, quite frankly, because I'm going to base it on this year, and they're both they're in the Super Bowl. That's why.
Back to one of your points earlier.
Yeah.
If you look at the two teams on paper at the start of the season and said both of these are going to the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
One's got Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce.
Massively inflated contract to flank Clark.
Yeah.
Frank Clark.
Frank Clark.
He's on the flank of the...
Versus kind of what the 49ers had, and you said, okay, who's done the better coaching job? And you mentioned it kind of with Mahomes has got the better pieces.
Yeah. I would agree with everything you've just said. And then I would look at Andy Reid's experience and say, I'll be stunned if he doesn't pull out something against Shanahan.
Yeah, he's limp dick when he loses.
Who are you supporting next week?
Are we calling the coaching a tie, or are we giving it to the Niners? Because clearly there's not much support here for Andy Reid.
I've got a lot of support for Andy Reid.
I've got as much support for Andy Reid as his trousers give him support, because the guy's huge. For me, this is Shanahan took a team that got 4 wins last season.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad luck with injuries. He's turned it round.
I'm going to give it to Andy Reid just so we can have the draw.
That is a draw.
Shanahan has obviously the team is really good. They're overperforming from what we expected. The scheme from Shanahan is unlike anything we've seen for a while. But Andy Reid has
so much
experience. He's run. He
hasn't run anywhere.
No, but
he's Andy Reid hasn't run for years.
But him and his offensive coordinator have run the best offense for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Whereas, Robert Saleh is running a superb defense as well. It's the whole coaching is a draw for me.
Okay, so other variables, anything you think needs to be included?
John just mentioned it. I think the defensive coordinators have got an incredibly tough.
Who is the Kansas coordinator?
Steve Spagnuolo.
Is that the fella that looks just like Andy Reid? Who's the fella that looks just like Andy Reid on the Chiefs, but he's, the black Andy Reid? I don't know.
Enemy.
Is that who it is?
That's the offensive coordinator.
Oh, right. He's got the moustache and everything. He looks just like him. I was just really confused. I don't know enough about the coordinators to judge. I know that Saleh has had an amazing season.
Yeah.
But I don't know about the coaching staff deeply enough on either team to make a decision as to how much that causes.
Bieniemy was interviewed for the Giants this year. I was kind of disappointed.
Spagnuolo was the interim head coach for the Giants after McAdoo was sacked.
Oh, really? There you go.
How did that go for you?
But this is all. Yeah, this is. Spagnuolo won the Super Bowl. Defensive coordinator for when we beat the Patriots the second time.
Yeah. So David Tyree's helmet won it for him.
Well,
that was the first time.
Oh, was that the first time? Oh.
We won on our great defense.
You did.
So both got pedigree, but Salah's had a great year. Bieniemy has had a great year. It's a tie.
It does. Well, we scored this at 6 points apiece. Which,
if you look at the odds at the moment,
they can't pull them apart.
I think Chiefs are maybe 1.5 points favourite.
Really?
That's as close as
all right.
I remember it.
There's 4 of us at this table, so there's a chance this is going to be a tie. But we actually have to pick a winner. We now have to actually make a decision. I will go first. I will say Kansas City will outplay the Niners' defense, and Richard Sherman will not pick off Mahomes, and there will be a deep touchdown or two, and they will just be too strong. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a really, really good game, but I don't see how you stop Patrick Mahomes, because the Titans' secondary is better than the Niners' secondary, and they could not stop Patrick Mahomes. So I will take Kansas City.
I'm taking Kansas City.
I'm going to go with the Niners.
But you've been a Kansas man for years.
And he fucking let me down.
Of course they did.
When he lost to the Titans with Marcus Mariota to the pass to himself. I feel that...
Having a stroke?
I'm just...
Defense wins championships.
Don't say that, because he's not here.
I said that first.
I'm going to...
I don't think you said that first.
I'm going to say that... For me, there is quality in every single position in the Niners. I feel they are I have not seen Mahomes come across a defense of this quality.
What have you seen Mahomes come across?
Like a lovely gent.
And Jim?
I was reminded of a Super Bowl back in the 80s, which featured the 49ers against the Miami Dolphins. And the Miami Dolphins had second-year quarterback Dan Marino, who had lit up the league for 5,000 passing yards. The first time it was ever done. They had 2 receivers who had over 1,500.
I think we're going to get our favourite phrase.
1,500 yards. And I remember if you watched I tried to find it today and I couldn't find it, the America's game for that year. There was a story about Bill Walsh who sat in the dressing room before the Super Bowl and was saying, "Oh, How are we going to stop the Miami Dolphins offense? They're too powerful. Marino's going to throw for 400 yards and destroy us. Oh my God, I can't sleep tonight. And I kind of just get the same type of feeling that everyone's hyping up Mahomes so much, and everyone's hyping up the Chiefs a lot on this offense. And they had 2 great games against the Texans and the Titans. I really don't want to, because my head does say the Chiefs, because I do think they're a slightly better team.
Listen to your heart.
But I just have a sneaky feeling that...
Is this what it's like watching me not pick the Patriots?
Yeah.
So painful.
It could be worse. Think about the other 49ers fan right now.
God, terrible.
Banging his head on the table.
Yeah.
He's already...
Injuries,
he'd already
sadness.
predicted a massive defeat by now. We're going to get absolutely blown out. You're right. It's going to be a really interesting game. It's going to be a very tight game. I do think the 49ers will sneak it. So yes, defense wins championships, but I think their running game's awesome.
Agreed. Yeah, well,
so
that's
we've
fine.
predicted another.
We've predicted another draw. It's not helpful when Gary's not here to be the 5th member of the panel.
He would have given it to the Chiefs. Come on.
He would have given it to the Chiefs. He definitely would. But it's going to be nice to watch the Super Bowl where my team's not in it, frankly.
Look, I've got lots of experience in this. It's fun. But yeah, should we move on to away from the Super Bowl? So
Till next week, at least.
Yeah. So other news around the league. So the Pro Bowl this weekend. Does anyone cares?
No one cares. Was there anybody that you felt should get into the Pro Bowl that didn't make it in?
I'm not going to lie. I haven't really been paying attention to it.
I'll be honest. I've not really.
I thought this was one of the few seasons where all the players I thought should be named probably made it. And that's usually the only fun thing about the Pro Bowl is finding out which players are upset that they didn't get in. And they all got in. So, once again, Pro Bowl completely redundant. I don't know why they continue to have the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, the game's a bit of a farce now because no one wants to get injured. Rightly so.
No kickoffs, nothing.
There's no kickoffs. The skills part of it is the most entertaining.
Brilliant.
part
And
of
that's
it.
all they should do.
Fun to
But it's a
That's all they
5-minute YouTube clip, though.
Yeah.
Apart from the one, I think, last year with Trubisky trying to throw over the glass wall.
Yeah.
I could watch that.
If it was a genuine game and you had the best of the NFC versus the best of the AFC, that'd be great to watch.
Yeah, but no one's ever going to do that.
It's not going to happen. So, it's pointless. I don't know why they bother.
Why can't they just do like the long bomb contest they did? I was watching earlier today.
That's what
That
I'm
was
saying.
brilliant.
The
Favre,
skill stuff.
Aikman,
Yeah, I saw that video.
Warren
Yeah.
Moon.
I work with an American guy who
You work?
well, I turn up to
Stop
a building.
rubbing it in.
I turn up to a building and talk to an American guy, and he was saying about the old long bomb competition and that they used to look forward to it. They used to go around each other's houses and just get smashed. Watch the long bomb competition. Is anyone doing that for the Pro Bowl? If you are going around a mate's house
For the Pro Bowl.
with a few friends getting smashed,
You could have a great drinking game with all these. Not that we endorse drinking.
You do.
Have a drink every time you think this used to be better.
Yeah. You'll be smashed in 5
what's
minutes.
the point of this?
Moving on from the Pro Bowl. AB controversy again this week. Shouting at his girlfriend on video.
It was also on Twitter. Were you here when I mentioned this? You might have just popped off. Florida police have put out a warrant for his arrest
I
as well.
did hear that. Yeah, I mean, look, is this guy seriously going to be allowed back into the league?
No.
No.
He's toxic now.
Absolutely.
He was toxic before.
He
He's
has
even more
he
toxic.
has issues.
He's done nothing to help himself.
No, he has not. I
Wait,
think we've seen the last of a very talented player.
This is a headline of noted dickhead acts like dickhead. Surely, right?
Noted dickhead continues to act like dickhead.
Moving on
Fair
from
enough. If he'd done the previous stuff and then gone quiet for a year,
Yeah.
he might have stood a chance. But now it's just gone on and on and on.
It seems unlikely.
Tom Brady.
Where's he landing? Where's he going to go? Because he wants to keep playing. He doesn't want to be the 15th best paid quarterback. That is what he has come out and said. And you cannot
Agreed.
pay the 25th best quarterback like he's anything more than the 15th best
Hey.
quarterback in the league. You can't.
He could be the 16th best paid quarterback now.
Look,
He hasn't said he wants to be the 14th or
No,
above, does he?
no.
He said he doesn't want to be the 15th
15th.
best.
As soon as Mahomes gets the next contract, he will be the
he
16th.
cannot. He cannot be
And Dak.
paid.
Yeah.
He cannot be paid like a top 10 quarterback when he isn't a top 10 quarterback. I said last week you can still win a Super Bowl with Tom Brady if you build the right team, but to build the right team, you can't be paying Tom Brady.
But you've got to have an option there to replace him. And Jarrett Stidham isn't that person.
Go and get Andy Dalton. Teddy Bridgewater. Any
Marcus Mariota.
any middle tier quarterback can win with a well-built team and Bill Belichick. That is the key. Because if Brady stays, Belichick will go, and that is a bigger problem.
They got to the playoffs with Brady and no receivers of any note. If they get some receivers, they could have Dalton, Mariota. They could have not Peterman.
Let's not go to extremes.
AJ
McCarron. Duncan. They could have any of them. And
do you know one that hasn't been said that intrigues me a little bit? There was some talk this week of Brady landing in Las Vegas.
I've heard this
because John Gruden wants an older quarterback.
Yeah.
And in return, the Patriots would take Derek Carr. Now, I think Derek Carr, coached by Bill Belichick, I would take that tomorrow.
I have heard that John Gruden doesn't want Derek Carr.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't want him.
He doesn't want him at all, and he's done with him. I could see them drafting a young quarterback, having Tom Brady in there for a year or so, because, okay, they don't need to sell tickets. They will sell tickets. But Tom Brady
still
going into a new stadium, that will get tickets sold.
I would take Derek Carr tomorrow because I think with Bill Belichick coaching him, he is good enough to get you into the playoffs.
Bullshit. Derek Carr will take you.
I mean, if I was Brady, I'd want to go to the Colts, which is just the best O-line in the league.
Colts would be a good landing spot for him.
That would be a very, very good. And also, perhaps while he's going there, we could have a word with Andrew Luck and see if he'll come back and play for us. That'd be nice. Here's one for John. Jason Garrett going to be playing as the...
Not the guy sat here in a Giants t-shirt.
Yeah, but you don't get quite so wound up about it. All right.
As I've just got wound up about it.
For the Farrow brothers... How do you measure this with your tiny cock?
Well, why don't you ask John first?
Right, well, Jason Garrett's going to be calling your offensive plays. What do you think?
It's I'm looking forward to a lot of
3-yard runs.
3 yards runs and.
Is this just a case of getting the most experienced coach available who knows your division and can help a new coach who's never been an actual coordinator?
Yeah.
To get his feet in the NFL.
No, I think next is it.
Hire him as an assistant head coach, not as a coordinator then.
I couldn't agree more. It's a very bizarre thing to do. Paul, what do you think?
Fuck you.
Well, that's what you think about the situation, or that's what you think about me?
I think it's... Do you know what? It's one of these things where I think people are looking to shit on the Giants.
It's fair.
People are looking to shit on Jason Garrett.
Also fair.
This could be a lovely partnership of two people...
covered in shit.
No, but this is a team with a point to prove and a coach with a point to prove.
The good thing is Garrett has come from somewhere where he's had a good running back and a young quarterback.
Yeah.
There are two things that the Giants have got. A good not a good quarterback, a good running back and a young quarterback. I'm not going to call him good yet.
I think it's good for the new coach, Joe Judge, whoever his name is.
Judge.
It's good. It's useful for him to have an experienced head.
Judge Dredd. It's good for Judge Dredd.
It probably is going to be quite freeing for Jason Garrett to not have Jerry Jones interfering with it.
Suggesting Jason Garrett's been interfered with by Jerry Jones.
I'm saying
because he will sue you.
I'm suggesting his coaching may have been.
Okay.
So it might be quite freeing to have free reign, which he probably didn't have at Dallas.
No, that's true. After last week's show, Luke Kuechly retired as I was on my way home.
Yeah.
He is 28 years old. He has had, by my count, 8 concussions. Now, I have been told off for not supporting players, for self-reporting, not being particularly supportive of the fat players looking after their own health rather than playing the game. Luke Kuechly needed to get out.
Yeah.
He should have quit 2 years ago when they took him off the field and he looked ready to cry and didn't know where he was. This guy has made the right call. Absolutely made the right. He is a Hall of Fame linebacker who no longer needs to do this to himself.
You're right.
Brilliant player.
He has made the right call. I'm gutted for him. I'm gutted for the Panthers fans because they absolutely adore him. He's an amazing player. Defensive rookie, obviously in his rookie.
Is he the guy that doesn't own a TV and lives in a shed?
Probably.
I believe that's him.
Do you know what? If you ever watched the All or Nothing of the Panthers from last year, he just sits in front of a video screen and
just
analyzes games, and he's well known in the league for being that very, very, very intelligent linebacker who just controls the defense. It's a massive gap for the Panthers to fill.
Huge.
It's going to be a problem. He has already said he wants to have a position with the Panthers. He wants to work for Panthers for life. They should be tying him to whatever
He
deal
should go
he can get.
straight in as linebackers coach.
Of course he should.
Straight away. Just put him straight in there and let him teach the next generation of Luke Kuechlys. But yeah, defensive rookie of the year when he came out, and then the next year defensive player of the year. What did you say? 8 Pro
As
Bowls?
many Pro Bowls as concussions.
Yeah, exactly. He is a Hall of Famer linebacker.
Of course.
I think this is one of those things. It's a bit like Gronk at the end of last season, where you just
Yeah.
think, do you know what?
You're done.
Nobody could argue you didn't give it your best shot.
It's it's good to. Obviously, the body is letting him down, and
It's
it's good
his
to
call.
go out before
Yeah.
it
It
goes.
It's always with him. It's looked like the next concussion is the last concussion.
Yeah.
Always with him.
I was saying to Jim, if you go back to our preview shows, who would have thought that potentially our defensive player of the year? We mentioned just how great Kuechly was. We also mentioned how brilliant. We were most effusive about Andrew Luck. Both of them aren't here now. Both of them because of injuries. Way too young. It's a downside of the game, but it's just a strange.
It's very
thing.
much like you in your sporting career, isn't it? You were. It was taken away from you at
It
a very
was.
young age. John.
It was. I'm back playing fat lads football now, but it's not the same.
Now, the next subject was highlighted for me by you, John.
That was it.
I believe so. Yes.
Looks like the kind of thing you would highlight.
It does. Apparently, Odell Beckham turned up on Pornhub this week, John.
Well, I'm amazed the 49ers game wasn't on Pornhub because that was a massive fucking.
Well done indeed.
Thank you.
Well done. I didn't actually see the clip, but I gather he slapped the ass of a police officer.
He spanked a policeman. It was a.
Is this while he was handing out money at the?
This is before, but it was in the locker room, and totally.
Just to confirm, this is at the college
Yeah.
finals.
What an
College
amazing
finals.
thing to
Just
do.
take a second to. This is a man who turned up at a stadium. He slapped a policeman. Is this before he handed out money? What a weekend!
So
He
LSU
goes to the national championship, assault a policeman, and hand out money.
LSU beat Clemson handily enough in the college football playoff final. Joe Burrow was amazing. And after the game, Beckham basically threw thousands of dollars worth of bills at the LSU players and anyone else who was within earshot.
Yeah, isn't he being investigated for that?
Well,
Yeah.
and so are the players because technically they're not allowed to take
Yeah,
money
money.
off anyone, which is insane.
The ones who are leaving college are.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. But the juniors and the freshmen who are staying in college aren't allowed to accept money from anyone.
And I think Beckham's now also being investigated by the police for spanking an officer. I mean, if you've seen the clip,
The video, which is genuinely up on Pornhub.
it is. But as well, if you've not seen
What was
it,
the title of the video on Pornhub? 'Cause
I
I
can't
believe it
remember.
had a very snappy title.
I can't remember.
Don't pretend you haven't got it saved.
It was on the WhatsApp group. So
So whilst you look at that,
Yeah.
I mentioned it on Sunday. Again, Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski over Robert Saleh.
Oh, man. What is that all about?
I listened to an interview with Florio and Tony Dungy today, actually. And Tony Dungy was talking about the Rooney rule and how that needs to be adapted. And he mentioned the idea of having teams not being able to kind of conduct their coaching search until the Super Bowl's finished. Because he said people are just hiring coaches too quickly and not giving the search or the right due diligence. They're just the owner latches onto someone they want. They bring him in an interview. They bring in a minority to kind of tick the box of the Rooney rule, but they aren't actually searching. They're not conducting a proper search. Sorry, we just found the video.
Says
A
John
proper
laughing
search,
at the Rooney rule.
John, would you like to tell us what the video is called?
white cop likes his ass being spanked by big black man.
Brilliant.
Back to the Rooney rule.
Pornhub,
Very inclusive, by the way.
And you think about, and the Browns are one team that just they lurch from one coach to another so quickly in the bid to get the best man. They just spent some time and just waited. Maybe they could have a better coach. Maybe they conducted a proper search. They could have a better coach.
So you're forgetting one very important variable of this. What team is this?
The Browns.
So there you go.
Other teams did it though. I think the only team that probably properly waited and thought about it were the Panthers, and they took their time in getting Matt Rule. And when they figured out they wanted him, they went quickly and got him before he went to the Giants. But you think about it, we're in a position now where every team now has a head coach, and we haven't played the Super Bowl yet. And probably two of the best coordinators in Robert Saleh and Eric Bieniemy, they're going to be coordinators again next year. That's great for 49ers, don't get me wrong, but I kind of think there needs to be something adjusted there to make it fairer, I guess, but have coaches do proper searches, or not have owners do proper searches.
Do we go back to franchises being run properly?
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
These franchises all suck, including my own.
Well, yeah,
not my own. My support.
I think there is something. There is legs in the idea that no coaching changes can be declared official until after the Super Bowl.
I forgot the best fact about the Chiefs offensive coordinator.
Go on.
Do you know what his nickname was when he was a player?
No.
Sleeping with
Bieniemy.
Yeah.
On that alone, he should be a head coach.
Yes. That is the second best
Nice.
nickname of all time after football player Fitz Hall.
One size.
That is my favourite. But yes, sleeping with that is very, very good. I've seen him. He's a big lad. I guess he was sleeping with anyone within vicinity.
Well, yeah. Unless anyone has anything to add, we'll call it a day here.
Did we look at Pro Bowl snubs?
We did.
Well, we looked
Couldn't
and
think
decided
of
there
it.
weren't many that were actually blatant this year.
Darren Waller?
Did he not make it?
No.
Wow.
That is a snub.
Dak Prescott?
That's not a snub.
4,000 passing
He
yards.
tailed off badly. But I'm glad you've come to the party 20 minutes after we went through that section. Huh? Were you doing your, quote, research?
It's the Pro Bowl next week, Michael.
Yeah. You're getting in there in advance. You can be the official Pro Bowl analyst for next week, if you like. Because it won't matter what you say, no one will have watched it.
So I'm just going to say, second in the NFL in passing yards,
Who was?
Dak Prescott.
Go on.
But
Fifth.
Winston was first.
So it's been lovely talking to you all this week. And I look forward to next week.
Well, next week it's season recap, and we're going to do something to celebrate the end of the decade. But until then, it's been lovely having you. We're, of course, on social media at...
What on earth was that? Is that how you end dates with women?
It is not.
Griff, can you start writing the end of
I stopped
podcast
writing it
scripts
because
as well?
I thought it was nice for John to free flow it, but I suspect
that's
I'll go
ended
back to
now.
it.
Yeah. But, of
You
course,
chose badly.
we're on Twitter at the Snap UK. We're on Instagram at the Snap UK. We're on the Facebook at the Snap UK Podcast. We also have our website, Jim, which is
thesnappodcast.com.
But until then, until next week, we'll have a good week. We'll see you then. Bye.